Bomb Ass Moms. Welcome to the Bomb Ass Moms podcast. I'm your girl, Erica.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Tierney, and we're the Bomb Ass Moms.
So, ladies, today we're going to be talking about something interesting, and some of the ladies out there that are listening can relate. We're going to be talking about Erica's birth story.
All right, ladies. So we're going to be jumping into it, talking about my birth story. So, of course, I have two children. My oldest is soon to be 16. He'll actually be 16 December the 27th. And then, of course, I have a smaller child, which he is going on 11 months. So I had my first child when I was 15 years old. I got pregnant when I was 14. Being a teen mom, definitely wasn't easy, but with the help of my mom, I got through it.
Erica, this is very interesting. You stated that you got pregnant at 14 and had your baby at 15. When you found out you were pregnant at 14, because you were a teen mom, like what ran through your mind? I mean, were you still in school? Like, walk us through that before, going on telling us your experience as a teen mom and your birth story.
Okay, so when I found out that I was pregnant, of course, I was in the ninth grade. My first reaction was, damn, how I'm gonna tell my mama.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I knew something was off with my body. Not ever experiencing pregnancy, I don't know, it was different. Like, I had those butterflies. That's what I would say. I didn't have a cycle and I wasn't sick. It was just my stomach, the butterflies. That's all I can definitely remember, the butterflies for sure. I knew because I didn't have a cycle, something was off. So at the time, my child's father, I told him, I said, I haven't had a cycle. I need to take we need to go and give me a pregnancy test. Now, y'all, believe it or not, I probably took about 4 or 5 pregnancy tests in a row.
Were you in
And
denial?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I knew something was wrong because I've never had irregular cycles. So my cycles, they come like clockwork. So when I didn't have a cycle, I had already kind of knew that it's a possibility, that I could be pregnant. And then that's when my child's father, I discussed with him. I was like, I believe that I'm pregnant. So, we would need to go get some pregnancy tests and, just to be on the safe side. Well, he went and got a few pregnancy tests and then I did take them and I took them at his house. And of course, they all came back positive. And y'all, believe it or not, the day that I took the pregnancy test, his mom came. She came in there to ask something, y'all. And I'll never forget, at the time when I took the pregnancy test, like we heard her knocking on the door. So my child's father at the time, he threw the pregnancy test in the top drawer. And so when she came in and I can't think of what she asked him, but she asked him something, y'all. And she went right to the drawer. And I mean, it's like, how your parents sense something? She had a sense that day. And she went right to the drawer that he put the pregnancy test in. It was actually the pregnancy test box. And so she went in there and she looked and she picked the box up and she was like, Erica, you pregnant? And I was like, no. At 14, I'm like, no, I'm not. She said, and, walked out. And so, you know,
That's funny.
girl, it was like, I was just like, oh my God, this lady went right. And y'all, you know what, when she came in, I want to say she was fussing about something, but my child's father, his parents, they were one of them. They were older. They were older parents. They wasn't like, I don't know. His dad at the time, he was like in his 70s, and his mom was probably like early 60s at the time. So, I my child's dad, his parents were the type of parents, I'm not gonna say that they let their children kind of do what they wanted to do, but they were like the parents that okay, if my children say something, I'm just gonna believe them and I'm gonna go on about my business. They were them type of parents. And so when I took the pregnancy test, y'all, and this was before I told my mama. So I went home, I cried probably every day up until I was able to tell my mom. And I'm giving my truth. At 14, you're like, man, I'm a kid, even though I'm doing adult things, but I'm a kid in my head and I'm a kid, about to give birth to a child. And so at the time, I just didn't know what to do, y'all. I would go home and I would hit myself in the stomach. Like, it's hard to say, but I would hit myself in the stomach because, at the time I didn't know, how I was going to tell my mom. And it was just like a thing where, I don't know, I was just lost. And I even got to a point, like, I even, like the edge of the bed. I don't know, I'm gonna get emotional probably talking about it, y'all, but on
It's
the edge of the bed, at the edge of the bed, I remember one day I like threw myself on it. Like, I don't know if I was at the time, if I was just thinking like, oh, maybe I'll have a miscarriage or, like something to happen where I don't have to tell my mom because again, 14, I'm trying to figure this out. I think I went over my cousin's house one day and that's when I started to get sick. So I went over my cousin Amber's house. And when I went over to her house, I got really, really sick. That's the first time that I got sick. I said, I cried. I cried. At that point, I had called my mama, and I called my mama, and I was just crying. And my mom was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "Ma, I just got to talk to you. I just got to talk to you." And she was like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" My mom kept asking me what was wrong. And so she came and picked me up, y'all. When she came and picked me up, I still was crying because I'm like, how am I going to tell my mom I'm pregnant? And so she was like, Eric, what's the problem? What's going on? Why are you crying? And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, I believe I'm pregnant. And she was like, what? I was like, I believe I'm pregnant. She said, okay. And my mom, I thought my mom's reaction would have been, because my mom, she she's I ain't gonna say that she's strict or anything, but my mom has a stern personality to a certain degree. And I thought my mom would hoop and holler. She probably even cuss me out, but that's not, her reaction that she gave me. She was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to take you to the doctor and we're gonna have to truly see if you're pregnant. And so right before she came and picked me up, I had some cereal at my cousin's house. And it's like after the fact, I told my mom, y'all, I was just throwing up everywhere. Just throwing up, throwing up, throwing up. And so my mom was like, yeah, it's a possibility that you can be pregnant. So we end up going to my brother was in her school at the time. So my mom wanted to go get her nails and feet did. And of course she took me along with her, after, when she took me along with her. And so we went and got our nails and feet done at the beauty institution where my brother was going to school. And so after we left there from, getting our nails and feet did, we went over to Burger King. And so I ended up getting a double cheeseburger meal. I'll never forget. And when I went and got the double cheeseburger, my last bite, I was throwing up again. And then my mom was like, "Yeah, you definitely are probably pregnant." So she ended up taking me to the clinic. This was, I want to say, we went on a Friday to the beauty institution. I went to the doctor that Monday. So we ended up going to the doctor. My mama ended up taking me to the doctor. And of course, when I went, I found out that I was pregnant. And so, my mom's reaction, she was just like, it's okay, we gonna get through it. Because believe it or not, I was depressed, you know, I was lost. And I was more depressed because, again, I was a child getting ready to have a child. And the only thing that I can think about is, how people would perceive me, how people would look at me, how my friends would look at me, how the people that I went to school, because that wasn't common. I mean, you hear about it, but it wasn't as common when I was like growing up. And don't get me wrong, people. I mean, you do have people with my experience, but again, at the time, I didn't have any friends that could relate to what I was going through. So it was a challenge. It was definitely difficult, and then it was difficult for me to also face my brother, to tell my brother that I was pregnant. And so I actually didn't tell my brother that I was pregnant. My mom actually told him, because I told my mom, I begged my mom, I said, Mama, please don't tell nobody. I'm just not ready. But she ended up, telling him before I even knew. But y'all, all I can remember is that I definitely cried the entire pregnancy with my first child. Any bad experience, like as far as any difficulties with my health or anything. Only thing that I can, remember is, like I said, me throwing up. Those were the only two times that I did throw up, and that first trimester. Other than that, health wise, I was very healthy. I didn't have any complications with my pregnancy. When I gave birth to Maine,
Erica, before
huh?
you get into that, ask some questions
Okay.
before you get into like the actual laboring part.
Hmm. Okay.
So, my first question, during this time in your state of mind, did you have someone that you could talk to, that you could go to for advice, or you just had to deal with it on your own?
Well, you saying that I have anybody to talk to before I told like my mom, or like,
Yeah, before you
yeah.
told your mom, like, did you have anybody to confide in or to share your feelings with?
I mean, I had my friends, but I wasn't ready to share that with them. And so no, I would say no to that. The only person that I confided in was my child's father.
And
So
how supportive was he?
he was very supportive. When I found that I was pregnant, he was he was supportive. We were just trying to figure it out.
Did everything cross your mind as far as trying to figure out, oh, I'm 14 and pregnant. Oh, I still have to go to school and do my work. Did you even stay in school? Like you said, Tierney asked, did you have like support or people you confided in? What was going through your mind? Like school, pregnant. I know it's a shock, but divulge to us everything you were thinking. I know it's hard to think back, but I mean, women out there can relate, what you have gone through.
So yes, I did continue school. When I found out I was pregnant, I actually did a April Fool's joke on my child's father. I told him, I said I was pregnant, and y'all, truly, I was pregnant. Didn't know at the time. So, at the time, we were playing around, and I called him. I was like, you know what, I'm pregnant. You play those games or whatever the case may be. And not knowing that I was actually pregnant, but I was truly pregnant. So, when I didn't find out, this had to be May when I found out that I was pregnant. So, at the time, I was in the ninth grade. So school was getting ready to get out. School is usually out the end of May, sometime around there. So I had the summer. We was getting ready to get out of school, going into school. I was going to the 10th grade. I went through the summer being pregnant in 10th grade, of course, going to school again. And yes, I did continue school. And then December, December is was my due date with my child, and of course, when I had him, that was during the winter break that we usually go on. But I ended up getting out of school. I think I finished. I left school maybe a week before we was about to go on winter break. I was able to finish my exams because I just, at the time I couldn't do it anymore. I was getting so, how you get your baby on your pelvis. I was really, really sore. And it was getting to the point, like everything hurts when you at the end of your pregnancy. I do remember that. And so my mom was just like, well, you almost at the end. So we're gonna make sure you get through your exams, and then that's gonna be the end of school. After I had my child, I did not continue with going to the same school that I attended, but I enrolled in homeschool. So I was able to graduate on time with my class, but of course, I finished my studies at home.
Are you saying you finished all of high school at home?
So I went to school when I got pregnant. Of course, that was the end of, my ninth grade semester. Going into 10th grade, I went to school that first semester. And then the second semester, I continued my studies at home. So I was homeschooled.
Okay, and I just wanted to go back a little bit because I did say I had two questions. So
Mhm.
my second question was, at that time at 14, did your mom know that you were having sex, and did she have that sex talk with you?
No, my mom didn't have a sex talk with me. And I can't really say if my mom knew that I was having sex. My mom worked a lot. So at the time when I got pregnant, I would sneak around to, my child that he lived literally on the next street. So when I got out of school, my mom would be at work because my mom worked as a hairstylist. So she didn't get home from work until after 9. So, by that time, I'd be at home or just be walking in the house probably 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes before she even got home. But I can't really say, Tyranny, if my mom, yeah, I'm sure, your all parents have a sense that their child is doing something they ain't got no business doing. But far as the sex talk, no, I've never had a sex talk with my mom. But I've had sex talks with my aunt. Like, my aunt, she used to talk about sex all the time. Where, y'all out here having sex, doing something y'all ain't got no business doing, make sure you wrap it up. So it's not like I didn't have knowledge. And I also, at the time, I took a class in school, like they taught us about, I forget the name of the class, but when I was in ninth grade, it was a class that I signed up for. And they talked about periods, sex talks and just different little things that educated young teens. So it's not like I didn't, I wasn't educated. It's just, being young, I chose to still indulge in something that I knew that was wrong. I guess if that makes sense.
I think a lot of children, I'd say, because we're still children at that age, even though we're teenagers, we do
Mhm.
things that we don't really know what we're involved in. It's for adults for a reason, and things like this happen. It's not the end of the world. It just happens.
Yes. Being a teen, it definitely taught me a lot. I definitely matured at a young age because, again, I was a teen that had to grow up before my time. In my mind, I now have someone that looks up to me. It was up to me to now make a choice of how you're gonna continue with life. And it was an experience. And
Well, I'm proud of you, girl. You kept going, and look where May is now.
yeah,
So that's you
yeah.
started early and you kept going. You didn't say, "Oh, I'm a teen mom. Oh, let me pin this baby off on my mom or let me have an abortion." Like, I know people make decisions, or women out there make decisions of what's best for them, but let
Mhm.
me just say kudos to you, Erica, for persevering through that, and you got a teenager now that looks up to you. That's
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
It's not easy, but it's an experience. And I feel like, I always say this, and I feel like sometimes, and it could have been just maybe like the road that I maybe was going down, and I feel like, God puts things in place to slow you down. Even though I was a child, but it could have been something that He felt I needed to slow down. Like I said, I still stick with that to this day. Being a teen and just out here just living free. That's what I'm gonna say. I was just out here just living free. And when I say living free, that means, I ain't gonna say I didn't care about like, like how my mom felt or anything. It's just was just like, well, I got this freedom. Like my mom wasn't the type of mom that just asked me when she came out, what'd you do today? Or, calling, during the day, where Erica, or, stuff like that. So maybe that the reason that I was just out here doing what I wanted to do. And then I also feel like, I grew up without a father figure in my life. Didn't have a father figure to really look up to. And I do feel like if I did, that maybe would have played a role, or it would have made a difference in my life as far as me getting pregnant at a young age.
Well, Erica, can you explain that? Like, how do you think it would have played a difference in that actually happening?
Well, I feel like when you truly have a father that really cares about their children, especially their daughters, they have talks with their daughters, and they're on the up and up to what you out here doing. And I feel like certain things you just can't get away with if you have a father that's present. Not to say that it's not someone that's out here that hasn't still experienced being a teen mom and has a father in the household, but I do feel like if I had those talks and, I had that sternness of a father being on me, then I do feel like that would have played a role.
So basically, if he was more present and just having that supervision and that father's love and protection, things probably would have been a little bit different.
Right, right. Because I think that in a child's mind, when you going to your dad and telling your dad, the first thing you'll think like, hell no, my dad ain't going for this. You go in there house being pregnant, so you better do something else. And like you need to make sure there's something that, before you make that decision or before you go out here and make the wrong decision, you're gonna think about, nah, my dad, I ain't gonna go to my dad. I think that from a child's perspective, we look at dads to be, especially to be stern. Because my cousin, for a prime example, she grew up in a household with her mom and her dad. Her dad is cool; he's cool as a fan, but she knew how far to go with it.
Did you ever ask your mom how did she feel?
I didn't like about me
Okay.
being pregnant. My mom was, and my mom was, if she was even upset about it, she never showed it. Like never. It was more so, I'm not gonna say like she was excited for me being pregnant, but she was excited more so like having a having a grandchild. That's what I'm gonna say. But like I said,
Yeah.
my mom was, if she was upset, yeah, my mom never showed it. If she cried or had any, ill feelings or emotions behind it, she never showed it to me.
I have another question. You know how you said your father's mom asked you, were you pregnant, and you told her nope?
Hmm.
What did you say to her when the dark came to the light and you you
Girl,
were pregnant?
girl, she was just like she knew. She said, "I knew you was pregnant when I came in there and asked you about that pregnancy test, and you told me now." Girl,
Man, women ain't crazy.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
y'all. I'm telling y'all, I won't forget. She came busting in that room. He put the damn pregnancy test in that first damn drawer. He had them, that old wood drawers, like with the little hanging little. I call them like bells. They make that noise when you
Yeah.
flipping up. But girl, she went right to that damn middle drawer and damn pregnancy test. And I don't know why that fool put it right there, but he put that damn test right there, and she picked it right up and looked at me. I was sitting in that recliner. He had a brown recliner in his room at the time, and she looked at me and was like, "You pregnant?" No. Yeah, what an experience. But
Question. So after finding out you were pregnant, how long did you and Main's dad stay together, and how long was he supportive? Because I know you've told us on recent episodes like his grandparents were great. They're wonderful, very supportive, always been there for their grandchild, but the dad was kind of absent. So how long was it between like finding out you were pregnant?
so initially, when I found out that I was pregnant, his dad was like super excited that I was pregnant. He probably stayed active as a dad maybe until Maine was almost 2. I stayed with Maine's dad. So let me just go back. I was 15 when I had him. Again, yeah, he was almost 2. Yeah, I'm gonna say he was almost 2. That's how long he stayed active. I'm not gonna say his dad was never there, but his dad liked to run the street.
Sorry, we had all these questions, but I just want to know how it was. Did people like look at you? Because I'm not gonna lie, in school where I went, we had a lot of seniors that graduated in 2005 that were pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to be honest, not saying that I was being judgmental, but I know my mom was very strict. Now, did sex cross my mind? Was I curious about it as a teen? Absolutely. I think all teens are, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I was too afraid to actually engage in sexual activity. But I thought about it all the time. And so when I would see the girls in high school walk around pregnant, I was so scared that that would be me. The first time laying down having sex, I get pregnant. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was just too afraid. I wasn't gangster. Let me tell you, I wasn't. My curiosity didn't outweigh the scaredness I felt, and I would see the girls, and it's like, oh my god, I can't be there because I'm too scared.
Yeah, I think shoot sideways, but again, I wasn't the only girl that was there that was a teen and pregnant. So as school went on, I had people to say certain things like, "Ooh, how you gonna be a child having a child, or make fun of me and something like and things of that sort." But again, when I was pregnant, I wasn't outside a lot. Like I pretty much just stayed in. Like after I found that I was pregnant, I didn't really just hang. Like I had 2 friends and they would come over, at the time and hang out with me or whatever, but I never like hung out with them like I was doing before I got pregnant. So it would literally be school and home. School home. But yeah, I did experience things where, I was people said certain things that weren't nice. What can you do about it? You just got to deal with it. It was something I had to just go through. Okay, y'all. Fast forward, it's getting closer to the date. So the estimate date that they gave me to have Marvin was December the 22nd. Why Christmas, I thought that I'm just waiting around because, I'm trying to, again, people saying I'm going to have my baby 2 days before, my due date, which 2 days before the due date was Christmas. I went to a family member's house and was just chilling. Wasn't in any pain or anything like that. I was just like, they was like, you going to have that baby. And I was like, okay, just hoping that I'm going to, have an experience where my water breaks or something. So, of course, when Christmas came, didn't have any issues, no experience, no water broke, no nothing. So the 26th came. I was at home at the time, sitting on the couch. I believe I was talking to my baby's father. I started having cramping, and of course, I was cramping in my uterus area, and I just it wasn't consistent. Like, how your contractions like it was just like here and there, but it was more so of like the irritation that I couldn't deal with. So I ran in there and I told my mom. I said, Mom, I think I'm going into labor. I said, I'm just like I'm cramping, I'm just cramping. And so Y'all, my mama, she gets up, y'all, and I never forget. She gets up. We had at the time we had a home phone in the hallway, and she gets up and she's like, "Wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me call 911. Let me call 911." Y'all, she done got on the phone and called 911. She was like, "Yeah, my daughter, she finna have her baby and blah 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 blah." Got about say my daughter finna have a baby, and so the ambulance come over there. At the time they was like, okay, they come in the house and they like, we got a call saying that you were, in pain, and I was like, yeah. But again, y'all, it wasn't like I'm never been pregnant before, never experienced this before. All I just knew that I was just cramping in my uterus area, and it just wasn't, I wasn't feeling good. And it wasn't like bad at the time. So when the ambulance got there, they came in and they was like, okay, well, we're going to go ahead on and take you to the hospital or whatever. That was the most uncomfortable ride ever. They went over every bump, hill, thump that you can name. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get the hell up off of this off of this damn ambulance. So,
That's how it is.
girl,
Tear, do you know?
ooh,
Right?
oh my God, talking about uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. So I was like, hell, if I'm not in that labor, y'all damn sure gonna get me there. Anyways, I had my baby. I ended up going to the med. They took me to the med. Got to the med and me back to the little area, little triage area before they get you a room. So yeah, at the time I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna, am I really about to give birth? And I was getting scared because I was in this labor. Well, I guess I want to say their area was called labor and delivery or something it was called. But they had people in there screaming, these women in there screaming. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be me. This is going to be me, Lord. I didn't know what to do, y'all. I'm just in my head. And so the doctors came in, the nurse lady, she would check me. She checked me. And at the time she was just like, oh, well, you're just 2 centimeters, but no, I ain't gonna say the nurse. It was a doctor that came in. I'm gonna take that back. It wasn't a nurse, it was a doctor. She came in, she was like, you're 2 centimeters, but you're thinning. And I didn't know what that mean at the time. I was like thinning, but I was like, okay. But when she checked me, it seemed like after that my contractions start to progress. And I was like, oh my God. It's like they started coming more frequently, than they was before I got to the hospital. I probably stayed in maybe like the little triage area room. I think I left home at 7:30. I didn't get in the room until 1 a.m. So I laid in that little triage area hurting, after she checked me. I don't know what it is about them checking you, but it just seems like when they come in and they check you, and I think I got maybe checked maybe 2 or 3 times before going into my room. And when I finally got into the room, I think I may have dilated 4 centimeters. So when I got into the room, the doctors came in again and she was like, okay, we gonna go ahead and, break your water and induce your labor. So they came in, gave me whatever the medicine is to induce your labor, and they broke my water. And so my contractions again, they started getting frequently. I started to hurt. And so she came in, they asked me if I wanted an epidural, and then I was like, whatever you can give me to make me stop hurting. So at the time at the hospital, I had my child's father, which in the triage room, you can only have one person that could come back there until you got a room. So when I got in the room, it was my child's father, my mom, and my brother that was in the room. And so they came in, gave me the Epidural. I felt so much better. Of course, I hadn't ate anything, and when you're in labor, they don't give you anything but ice and maybe a popsicle. But I don't even think they gave me a popsicle. I think I just had some ice. And so I had my Epidural, got my ice, and next thing I know, I started to feel pressure. And I told my mama, I said, Mom, I said, I got to go to the bathroom. And she was like, You gotta go to the bathroom. And I was like, Yeah, I gotta have a bowel movement. Again, this is my first time having a baby, not knowing what that feels like. I'm like, I gotta go to the bathroom. And so it was a nurse. She was getting ready to come into the room. She looked at me. My mom said, Well, she said she got to go to the bathroom. And she was like, Do you feel pressure? And I'm like, Ma'am, I don't know. I just got to go to the bathroom. And so she was like, Okay. So she got to asking me a million questions. About that time, my brother just got pissed. Man, if you don't go get a damn doctor or somebody, stop asking all these damn questions. Doesn't see she in pain. My brother just getting all mad and everything. It really was funny. And so she was like, No, let me call somebody in here. I'm going to let them check you. So, y'all, the pressure just kept progressing. And I just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So they finally came in, and the doctor came in. She was like, No, the baby is getting ready to come. So next thing I know, all the doctors and the nurses, they was running in, to assist me, with, me getting ready to have the baby. And so my mom didn't want to stay in the room. She was like, I'm not staying here. So my brother and my child's father, they stayed in the room while they was preparing me to, get ready to deliver. And so, y'all, it took me 15 minutes because I was just over it. I was exhausted. I had been in that waiting room. I was in pain. It just seems like I hadn't had any rest. I was just ready to get it over with. So when the doctors came and they told me what to do, the doctor was like, "Put your chin down in your chest and push." It took me probably 3 pushes, and he was out. And he had ripped me. So of course, when he ripped me, I had to get sewed up. But the doctors, I guess they give you some type of, I don't know what they do down there. Y'all more knowledgeable than I am when it comes down to that. But I want to say it's a needle that they stick to numb you or whatever. It didn't work. I felt everything that man was doing, and I was screaming so loud, and he was just like, "Why are you screaming?" And I'm like, "Cause you hurting me." Like I'm just, that part was probably like the worst probably experience of me getting sewed up. But after that, y'all, I was so tired. I was drugged up from, just all the stuff that they gave me. They put my baby in my arms, and I think I looked at Maine and I said, "He cute." And my arms just drifted down. So next thing I know, I don't know who grabbed him or whatever, but somebody grabbed him, and y'all, I was out. I think, I got pictures where my brother had took pictures where my hair was all over my head and I had just woke. But after that, I didn't see, hear nothing. That was the end of my, yeah, that was it.
So, Erica, you mentioned not to go all the way back, but it's going to lead me to the question that I want to ask so you can let the women out there know that's listening the answer to this question. So, earlier you said when you found out you were pregnant, you were lost, you were worried about what people thought about you because you were a young woman and now you were pregnant and about to have a baby. So my question is, what would you like to tell women out there that maybe found out that they're pregnant and it's not the right timing, or they're young moms? What would you like to tell them about, I don't want to necessarily say being in it now, but what advice would you give the women out there now that you've experienced something like this and you can look back over it and talk about it?
My advice would be, just because you have a baby young doesn't mean that you can't make it. We all make, sometimes
We all make
we all
different
make
choices.
choices. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. We all can make choices that lead us to situations that we don't want to be in, but it doesn't mean that we can't overcome.
Yes. Because again, you bomb doing it. Again, I'm super proud of you. And I'm proud of the women out there that have had to go through something similar like our girl Erica here, and you've overcame it and you're still moving forward and you have your little human, well, probably teenage human or a grown human that looked up to you.
Yes.